Gentleman's time has expired. The chair now recognizes the ranking member for 5 minutes. Gentleman from California, Mr. Huffman.
Thank you. Secretary Burgum, I want to start with something I hope we can just agree on. Would you agree that most Americans are struggling right now to afford basic necessities of life because of rising costs?
Yeah, I would say, again, this administration...
Yes or no? Do you agree they're struggling with these rising costs?
I agree that this administration inherited the highest inflation in 40 years.
Mr. Secretary, do you agree that families are struggling across this country with rising costs? Yes or no?
I agree that during the first year of office, this administration did more to lower costs than any other.
Maybe you wouldn't know, Mr. Secretary, whether they're struggling. I mean, you're in a different economic strata, but I think most of us understand there's a struggle out there because of this administration's economic and energy policies. And while you are slashing just about every other part of the Department of Interior's budget, including for national parks, you have spent a lot of the department's time, resources, and taxpayer dollars to serve Donald Trump's vanity. You put his face on national park passes. You're helping him build a $1 billion ballroom. You're letting him paint the reflecting pool blue on a no-bid contract. You're building a 250-foot arch to Trump that will overshadow our veterans' final resting place. And Mr. Secretary, it's hard to understand how these projects to stroke Trump's ego do anything for the American people with their day-to-day struggles to afford daily life. And the ballooning costs of these tributes to Donald Trump really speak to the lack of fiscal responsibility in this budget, not to what you said in your testimony, that this is all about fiscal responsibility. So can you just confirm, with this arch specifically, who is this arch for? Who's it being built for?
I think you're probably aware that there's been no final agency action around building something on a site.
That was not my question about technicality on final agency action. Who's it being built for?
It's not a technicality.
This is my question, Mr. Secretary. I'm sorry, that's the way it works. Who is the arch being built for?
The frame of your question is that there has been a approved proposal and something is actually being built.
Now, let's forget about final agency action and other legalese. There is a proposal to build this arch. Who is it for?
There's a discussion about it. I wouldn't say there's not a proposal.
Who's it for?
Well, for the American people, just like everything else in this thing, because there are 68 democratic capitals around the free world that have arches, and I guess that somehow the United States building an arch for the people to celebrate.
We're going to build one just a little taller than the one in Pyongyang because someone in the White House insists that ours be the biggest. Mr. Secretary, you may not be aware of this, but actually I'm sure you are aware. Donald Trump was asked this question specifically on the record, and he said this arch is for him. He said his answer was me. We can enter that into the record by unanimous consent if you'd like, but I'm pretty sure you're aware of that. Mr. Secretary, while you're funneling billions into these vanity projects, gas is up by an average of $1.40 a gallon from last year. In March, President Trump posted this message. He said, "The United States is the largest oil producer in the world by far, so when oil prices go up, we make a lot of money." Who's the we?
Well, it could be states, the federal government, the American people. When we collect royalty rates on oil production on federal lands, and so if prices are higher, then there's more revenue coming into the system.
So this is good for American families that they're paying $1.40 more a gallon for gas?
I'm not saying that, but I'm thrilled that they're paying. I'm thrilled that they're paying about $1 less than they were during the Biden administration. I mean, that's exciting, and these prices are going to drop quickly again because now we actually have supply. Prices are determined based on supply.
Again, there's a real disconnect here. Americans are not celebrating this spike in gas prices that you seem to think is just great, and your only answer is to hearken back to the depths of the pandemic.
It wasn't the depths of the pandemic. It was just a year ago, and it was a series. It was energy subtraction.
Americans
policies.
Are paying $1.40 more a gallon, and there's no end in sight to this energy crisis created by the war in Iran. They're the ones who can't afford to keep the lights on and put food on the table. But the we that's making a lot more money are, let's be honest about it, it's the big oil billionaires. Mr. Secretary, you're the energy czar. I mean, is all of this proceeding according to your plan? Is everything going well?
The fact that we've displaced 2/3 of the Russian gas in Western Europe, the fact that we've shut down Iranian exports and Venezuelan exports, which were creating record cheap oil for our adversaries around the world.
You're feeling pretty good about our trajectory right now.
I feel like that this president has changed the geopolitical structure of the energy thing, which has determined almost all conflicts for the last 47 years, has shifted from the Middle East to the Western Hemisphere. And when Alaska continues to come online to serve our Pacific allies, we're going to see a historic shift.
Everything's going great.
What has been accomplished in the last 15 months to reshift the geopolitical alignment of energy production towards reliable, affordable, and secure energy of those countries, nothing short of remarkable. And we're this is a temporary, not a long-term thing. We're on a path towards affordability, reliability, and security.
I'm going to take that as a yes, that you believe everything's going great. Thank you, Mr. Secretary. I yield back.
Gentleman's time has expired.
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Stauber,
May I enter into the record? I'd like to submit the record a letter directed towards California Governor Gavin Newsom, from Arizona's Democrat Governor Katie Hobbs, and Nevada's Republican Governor Joe Lombardo, which highlights concerns they have in regards to California state legislation related to refinery inventory supplies, which impacts these supplies and is causing higher costs for consumers and gravely impacting transportation infrastructure across the West.
without objection.
And, Mr. Chair, I have a unanimous consent request as well. The Secretary is keenly aware
The gentleman
of
will pause without objection. Mr. Staubers
Thank you.
is recognized. Mr. Huffman, you're recognized.
For unanimous consent, that the Secretary is keenly aware of the new coal capacity China has added. He neglected to mention, maybe he's not aware, that China added about 4 times as much clean energy in 2025 than coal. So here is an article from Ember entitled Chinese Energy Trends, pointing out those facts.
Without objection. So ordered. Mr. Biggett, you're recognized.
Can we include in that China still gets 60% of their electricity from coal, and so 2 out of 3 electric vehicles in China ought to have a bumper sticker that says powered by coal?
Sure, as long as we include the fact that they're dominating EV sales around the world, and this administration has neutered the American auto industry. Yeah, let's put that in the record, too.
Mr. Biggett, you had a submission for the record.
I ask unanimous consent to submit to the record the fiscal year 2023 National Park Service budget justification showing the Biden administration's request for funds to repair the reflecting pool, which has had existing problems and is now finally being restored by President Trump.
Without objection. So ordered. Chair now recognizes the gentleman from Colorado, the chair of the Subcommittee on Indian and Insular Affairs. Mr. Hurd, you're recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Secretary Burgum, welcome. Good morning. I want to say I appreciate the department's continued engagement on the Shoshone Water Rights Preservation Project in western Colorado. This is critical for ag, it's critical for rural communities, and for water supply in the West. Can I count on your department's continued engagement with my office as we work to get this effort across the finish line?
Yeah, absolutely.
Wonderful. Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Separately, I also appreciate the department's continued attention to proactive wildfire mitigation, also a huge issue in western and southern Colorado, and your efforts to prevent further wolf introduction to Colorado. I trust that your work in these areas will continue as well.
Yes, absolutely.
Wonderful. Thank you. Mr. Secretary, as Chairman of Indian and Insular Affairs, I wanted to ask about tribal public safety and work that your department is doing in Indian country in that regard. I continue to hear from tribal communities across the country about concerns they have, serious concerns about public safety, challenges facing Indian country from cartel activity, narcotics trafficking, and also violent crime. I want to thank you for the recent secretarial order that you issued, I believe it was earlier this month, honoring our commitment to protecting Indian country communities and your focus on opioid enforcement and stopping crimes against children. Can you tell us a little bit about how the department sees the Indian Country Violent Crime Task Force improving coordination among tribal governments, federal governments, state governments, and local governments over the long term?
Well, yes, Representative, I think you know that we've got I'm going to say fall through the cracks or some gaps, and we know that the organized crime, including cartels, that are involved in human trafficking and drug trafficking know that sometimes they can fall into a pocket of tribal land and avoid state and local jurisdictions. And that at the federal government that we're sometimes not coordinated. And so having better coordination, obviously we've got a huge issue which we're addressing around missing and murdered Indigenous women, over 6,000 unsolved cases. We've got collaboration going with the FBI that we've never had. The FBI has put together a special task force related to this on these unsolved cases. And again, on the Violent Crimes Task Force, they're working. They had a fun, it just happened this week, so it hasn't been made public yet, but there was a bust that through this group that was working that picked up close to 40,000 fentanyl pills in one bust on tribal land and over 50 pounds of other drugs and narcotics. And so, enough to kill tens of thousands of Americans in the wrong hands. So it's a real issue. And I know from my time as governor when we were involved working on trying to stop cartels that were working out of Mexico, that were working with gangs in Detroit, that were coming by Amtrak into 3 tribes in North Dakota. We arrested 55 people in one day as one of those things. These are part of the things that we want to get back at doing at a regular pace. In a more intense pace than we have been, because the safety in Indian country is the thing. Any consultation is the thing that comes up. We've underfunded the infrastructure in terms of detention, jails, and other things in Indian country as well. It's a big issue.
Completely agree. Thank you so much for that emphasis on that, Mr. Secretary. I cannot tell you how important that is in Indian country. How can Congress best support the Department's efforts to promote and protect public safety in Indian country? What can we do more than we've been doing?
Well, I think part of it's funding and part of it's raising awareness. I mean, it's shocking to me that we'll have case after case of someone going missing in Indian country, and then it's never reported in the news. And then we have a co-ed goes missing on spring break, and it becomes a 10-part Netflix series. And so but yet we've got just this ongoing issue. And so again, for each of you in your districts, if you interface with tribal areas, again, people want to raise their hand, work with us. I mean, we need a whole of government approach, and we've got to figure out a way. In North Dakota, we created a lot of MOUs between state, local, and federal. That helped a lot because some of this it's like the 1930s. Bad guys crossed into tribal country, and in some states, the state highway patrol can't even follow them because they've refused to solve these multi-jurisdictional problems. So there's a number of things we could work on together there.
Well, as a representative of a lot of rural communities, I know just how important that cross-jurisdictional coordination is. What measures are in place to ensure coordination between the task force that we're talking about here that was in your secretarial order and local and state law enforcement?
Well, this is it's a work in progress because of the complex jurisdictional things, and we've got some places in the country where it's working well, others not so well. But that's part of what we need to do is keep pushing to make sure we've got coordination everywhere.
Great, thank you, Mr. Secretary, for your time and attention in this regard. Mr. Chairman, I see my time has expired.
Gentlemen's time has expired. The chair now recognizes the gentleman from California, Mr. Min, for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Chair Westerman, Ranking Member Huffman, for holding this hearing. Thank you, Secretary, for coming back before this committee. In 2024, then-candidate Donald Trump campaigned on cutting energy costs, promising to cut utility rates in half in his first 12 months in office. We are now about 16 months in, and residential electricity rates are at a 10-year high in the United States. Meanwhile, your department has refused to approve hundreds of wind and solar permits, preventing nearly 57 gigawatts of new energy from coming online, energy that could power millions of homes. In July of last year, the Department of the Interior announced it would require all wind and solar permits, nearly 70 types of permits, to be personally approved by you. But your department has effectively rejected every one of those applications to date. In fact, in April of this year, a U.S. District Court judge ruled in favor of clean energy project developers, agreeing that your department was, quote, slow-walking the approval of wind and solar permits against the law and issued a preliminary injunction against your department. Now, Secretary, I have reviewed your past testimony, and I would say it seems very clear you have a vendetta against renewable energy, a vendetta that you're making clear again today. You've stated, for example, that we, quote, have to have massive taxpayer subsidies to produce renewable energies because once the Working Families Tax Cut Bill was passed last year and the subsidies ended, most of these renewable energy projects dropped off the queue. And in fact, that's a false statement. In fact, at the end of 2025, the queue for renewable solar, wind, and storage was over 6 times larger than that for gas. I would also note that if we're talking about subsidies for energy, some might say that the $75 billion and counting that we are paying right now for this illegal war in Iran is a direct subsidy for oil and gas, much larger than for renewables, along with the billions that we spend each year in the Middle East to maintain military bases. But I digress. I also want to point out that you once described wind and solar as unreliable, intermittent energy projects that hold America back from achieving U.S. energy dominance. Now, again, I would say this is a false statement because advancements in energy storage, innovation, including batteries and long-duration storage, have allowed us to deal increasingly effectively with the energy variability of renewables while getting Americans the energy they need. But speaking of U.S. energy dominance, Secretary, I just ask you a simple yes-no question. Do you agree that China is also trying to achieve total energy dominance? Yes, no? Okay, it's not a yes, no. I'll reclaim my time. Do you know how much new energy China put online last year? New energy.
Intermittent or baseload?
And all energy. 543 gigawatts. Do you know how much of that was renewable?
I do not know how much of it did not
operate. It was 434 gigawatts. 80%,
but only when the wind is blowing and the sun is
80%,
shining.
they put on 434 gigawatts annually. 80% of the new energy that they put online last year was renewable. 80%. You don't have to take my word for it. I'm Asian, so good at math, but you can look that up. 80% of the energy they put up was renewable. Meanwhile, the United States, under your, quote, total energy dominance strategy of rejecting renewable energy, put up 53 gigawatts of new energy last year, less than 10% of what China put up. Now, your clear bias against renewable energy, in the face of all evidence, is harming our national security, harming our ability to have energy independence, and putting us further and further behind the Chinese. And the cancellation of Total Energy's offshore wind leases last year is a case study on your department's economically illiterate and unlawful energy strategy. In March 2026, Trump settled with Total Energies, a French oil company, for $1 billion in exchange for cancellation of its offshore wind leases. If completed, Total Energies projects would have produced enough energy to power 1.7 million homes in the United States. Furthermore, the administration paid this company $1 billion again from a fund strictly reserved for settlements resulting in active or imminent litigation requiring monetary compensation, which was not the case with Total, because in fact, in March 2026, the CEO of Total told CNBC that their company had approached the federal government for reimbursement after Trump had paused all offshore wind permitting. So again, a simple yes-no question for you. While constituents deal with sky-high utility prices, do you think it's appropriate that your department sent $1 billion to a foreign oil company to stop producing energy?
There's so many things that you said that are false or misleading. I don't know where to start.
But I will
start with one thing that Total was refunded their money. They essentially gave the U.S. government a interest-free loan, and their money was refunded to them.
I know you've described this as a refund in the past. I'm not interested in semantics. You gave them $1 billion to stop producing energy.
It's not semantics.
It is semantics. You gave $1 billion out of a fund reserved for settlements. Is that not true? You gave them $1 billion out of a fund reserved for legal settlements.
I didn't give them anything. We refunded their money, but only if
you gave them $1 billion, right? How are you going to characterize
which they've already invested in energy.
I'll reclaim my time. Thank you very much.
They've already invested that money in energy projects in the U.S.
Different question. Your department conducted a cost-benefit analysis before engaging in this refund.
Gentleman's time has expired. We're now going to go to Mr. Gosar, the chairman of the subcommittee on oversight. You're recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Secretary Burgum, for joining us today. I also want to let out a special thank you to the subcommittee staff director, Michelle Lane, who organized this hearing and is embarking on her next chapter. This was next week. So I want to say thank you very much for all that you've done. You've been a passion for Arizonans all across the board. Secretary Burgum.
Mr. Chairman, can we make sure that the mic is close enough so I can hear clearly there? Okay, thank you.
Are you familiar with the Wallapai water settlement?
I'm sorry, the
Wallapai up by Kingman, Arizona.
Oh, the Wallapai?
Yeah, it's the only one outstanding right now. You're aware of it?
I'm aware that we have a number of tribal water deals that are outstanding, if that's what you're saying.
Yeah. If the settlement isn't fully funded by 2029, the United States will, for the first time in history, have failed to meet a statutory obligation for to a tribe under a constitutionally enacted water settlement, and the settlement will become void in 2029. So thank you for including the $58 million in the settlement of the President's fiscal year 2027 budget. Can Congress expect to see continued investments to ensure the settlement does not become null and void?
Yes.
As the President delivers on affordability for Americans, I have begun the discussions to reshape how congressional water settlements have been launched and funded. Customer user fees may offer a temporary solution to fund these settlements without inflating the national debt. Are customer user fees a possible link for
we'll look at all options.
Okay. I also think your continued commitment to clean water is to everybody, especially in Arizona. It's no easy task to inherit the Colorado River Compact negotiations from the Biden-Harris administration. As the saying goes, whiskey's for drinking and water for fighting over. To solve this crisis, I encourage the department to improve existing water infrastructure like the Yuma desalination plant in my district. Construction of the YDP concluded in 1992, but the facility remains dormant. I believe the desalination is the future of our access to clean water in my district. The YDP offers Arizona the opportunity to become closer to self-sufficiency and sustainability and source clean and deploy water within its own borders and reduce the burden on Lake Mead. Secretary Burgum, what is the current operational status of the YDP, and what would it take to get it up and running to full capacity?
I want to make sure that the current status of I didn't hear the initials.
It's the YBD, it's the Yuma desalination plant.
Oh, yeah, well, on the broader topic of the Colorado water system, I think everybody knows in the basin that we've got a big shortage. We've got to figure out a way to get a desalination and any other thing we can do to get more supply. With the population increases, with the record amount of economic development activity going on, versus what the Colorado River plan from 100 years ago is. The river produces less water than originally thought. We've got to figure out ways to add more supply.
So let me catch you in there. So the YDP would be something we would look at.
Yeah, absolutely. We have to look at every idea we have to get more water into the Colorado system.
Okay, switching on subject. A big thank you to you, Mr. Secretary, for rescinding the BLM Conservation and Landscape Health Rule on Monday. Under this rule, the Biden-Harris administration attempted to lock up public lands from public use. My bill, H.R. 34, the Lasso Act, encourages the responsible use of public lands, according to the multiple use doctrine of the Federal Land Policy Management Act of 1976, to benefit Americans and their hard-earned Social Security benefits. Importantly, my bill does not expand the development or raise the fees for activity on public lands. Do you believe my bill would change the mission of the federal land management?
I believe that the original law of multiple use is a direction we need to go, and certainly we support the revoking of this rule that would have allowed no use to be a use on public land.
So how would the Lasso Act impact the President's and the Departments of Interior's current strategy for dominant energies dominance? It would be positive, wouldn't it not?
Well, again, multiple use is positive for Americans, is positive for the sustainable use of our land. So, yes.
Thank you, Secretary. Thank you back.
Gentleman yields back. The chair now recognizes the gentlelady from Oregon, Ms. Dexter, for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Mr. Secretary, for being here again today. Mr. Secretary, do you have any conflicts of interest as Secretary of the Interior?
No.
Good. I would hope not. I'm glad to hear it. Then I want to ask you about Dr. Jennifer Chatfield, a political appointee who was quietly installed last year as Deputy Assistant Secretary for Fish and Wildlife and Parks. It appears she has been involved in approving a permit application for her family's animal breeding facility to allow them to breed endangered wildlife. The available record also shows she may have been untruthful to the ethics officer. If the Office of the Inspector General finds that she broke ethics laws, will you fire her?
Well, certainly we'll take a look and follow anything that would come from ethics, but as far as I know right now, everything that is, all the guidance and rules have been followed.
I just want to make sure. So if the Inspector General finds that she broke ethics laws, will you hold her to the same level of integrity that you're holding yourself to?
I certainly will look at all the facts. One thing I learned as a governor is I can't prejudge an outcome until I see all the evidence. And
Understood.
Certainly,
I agree with that.
I don't have all the
I
evidence.
just am talking about when that is concluded. Yeah. So I appreciate that your commitment is to hold her accountable to ethics laws. So now let's talk about priorities. Mr. Secretary, the president's vanity projects are so out of control that they now require their own budget. Trump is putting his face on park passes and passports. He's carving his name into the Kennedy Center. He's repainting the reflection pool American flag blue. He's trying to put up a massive 250-foot arch to Trump in front of Arlington National Cemetery. And then there's the ballroom. First, the American people were told this ballroom would not disrupt public access to the east wing of the White House. That hasn't been the case. Then they said they would mostly be privately funded and only cost about $200 million. But then it was $250 million, then $300 million, then $400 million. Now, reporting suggests taxpayers are footing a whopping $1 billion bill for Trump's ballroom and White House upgrades. Mr. Secretary, your budget cuts the National Park Service by $1 billion, a 32% cut. If you put this $1 billion towards our national parks instead of Trump's ballroom, you could avoid that cut. That would benefit every single American. Mr. Secretary, at any time, did you object to this level of spending for the ballroom?
I think a couple things. First of all,
I want to be really careful with my time. As you know, we keep running out. So
I want to be
did you
careful.
object?
I want to be careful about what we're talking about because I think everybody in this room knows that there's a massive security complex.
We're not talking about that, Mr. Secretary. We're talking about a $1 billion line item for White House upgrades.
Yeah,
in
but
the
what do you have included in that line item?
Okay,
Is
so
it all
clear to me and everyone here that you didn't do anything to stop Trump's
I'm sorry
ballroom.
to interrupt.
No, this is my time, Mr. Secretary. I'm going to take it. I'm sorry. Similar to how you did nothing to stop Trump from spending $13 million with a no-bid contract to paint the reflecting pool. So this is a question I think the public wants answered. When is it enough? At what point do you tell Trump no, Mr. Secretary?
There is no painting going on at the reflecting pool. The reflecting pool leaks 40,000 gallons a day.
Let's just refocus on the $1 billion.
Can we refocus
for
on
the White House?
not misrepresenting things? Because it's not paint. It's a
liner.
It's a liner so the pool doesn't leak.
$1 billion investment.
So can we not? I'm not sure why people keep calling it President Trump's ballroom because it will be completed in time for all.
Oh my goodness, Mr. Secretary, did you know that 90% of the American public supports our national parks? And 2-1, they do not support the investment in the East Wing and the new ballroom. So are you supporting Mr. Trump's vanity projects or are you supporting the national parks that our people in this country treasure?
This is a false trade-off.
It is not a false trade-off.
It is absolutely a false trade-off.
Our budgets are values documents, Mr. Secretary. You said this in your opening comments, that your priorities and your values are where you're spending money, and you are refusing to stand up to our president who is investing in vanity projects instead of our federal lands and our national parks. I
asked you to reauthorize the Great American Outdoors Act, which President Trump will sign, which will invest billions in our national parks.
Let's talk about that. How many rangers need to lose their jobs before you stand up to these vanity project investments?
If you want to talk staffing, I'm happy to talk staffing because we've hired thousands and thousands of people into the national park system. And if any of you would look at the budget and see,
so again, I'm looking at my time being
part of the
up,
reduction
and Mr.
that you're
Secretary,
seeing in the national parks.
I ask you to stand up for the American people and stand up against these investments. And I think we've heard all we need to do to hear today. You are failing to stand up for the American people.
That completely and totally false assumption.
Time to expire.
Mr. Speaker,
Mr.
Chair, may I ask unanimous consent to enter into the record an article from 2012 during the Obama administration's titled DC's Not So Reflecting Pool is full of algae after $34 million renovation. The second one was these renovations were so bad, in fact, they had to enter another article into the record showing that the Biden administration's National Park Service had to shut down the reflecting pool every year to clean out trash, debris, and goose droppings. And finally, the third, I'd like to enter in the record an article from Political from this year. This article says the initial estimates for the reflecting pool projects were upwards of $300 million. DOI is now getting this project done for a fraction of the cost, ahead of schedule, in time for the 250th anniversary of this great nation. And I ask unanimous consent.
Without objection, so ordered.